This episode of Hustle and Pro is brought to you by I9 Sports. I9 Sports provides a youth sports experience that teaches the importance of good sportsmanship on the field and in life in a convenient one-day-a-week schedule. I9 is open to all kids and all skill levels ages 3 to 14 in flag football, soccer, baseball, basketball, volleyball, and lacrosse. I9 Sports is the way youth sports should be. Find a youth sports program near you at i9sports.com. That is the letter I, the number 9, sports.com. This is Hustle and Pro with Kelly Walker. Join Kelly as she talks sports with players, coaches, organizers, and entrepreneurs from Pee Wee League to Pro. Now here's your host, Kelly Walker.
It's football time in Texas, and we have Greg Tepper here to tell us all about it. Welcome to Hustle and Pro, Greg.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you letting me into your palatial studio. This is a lot nicer than I'm used to.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. So I think you have what many people would say is their dream job, getting to work in sports and specifically in football. So you are the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, which is called by many the Bible of Texas football. You work for Fox Sports Southwest, where you host the Fox Football Friday and the High School Scoreboard Live, right? Mm-hmm. And you host a daily live show on TexasFootball.com.
Yeah, all my bad days at work involve football. That's a pretty good gig,
That's a pretty good gig, right? Yeah. So I usually do these quick hits, and one of them is about your favorite sport. So is football your favorite sport to watch?
Yes, but at the same time, like when you work in football, it becomes work. Do you know what I mean? That when I watch football, I now watch it with a really analytical eye. I'm always looking at things. It's been a while since I've been able to sit and enjoy a football game. Mm-hmm. So it is because I love the game and I love kind of breaking it down in depth. But if you're talking about what I do just to turn my brain off and to have fun, I like baseball and I like soccer. Those are two things that I hop into, but football. Look, I love football. I don't want to make any bones about it. But there's definitely parts. You go to a party or something like that, and people find out what you do, and they say, "Oh, what do you think of this in football?" And I'm like, "I'm at a party. Maybe we're talking about now we're talking about work.
Talk.
Yeah, we're talking about work. But it's it's a dream job. So I do love football."
So all that being said, who is your favorite athlete of all time?
Oh wow. So I have an odd answer to that. My favorite athlete of all time is a former Rangers third baseman named Hank Blaylock, who
I know Hank.
Yeah, Hank Blaylock. His probably claim to fame was in 2003. He hit the game-winning home run in the All-Star game. He was not the MVP of that All-Star game, but that's not bothering me 16 years later. But it's that is a guy that whenever I was really becoming sports conscious and really appreciating what football, what sports could have an impact on people. He was somebody who came along and played the right style at the right time in my life, and so much so that I have a son. I have a 9-month-old son, and there's a rumor that I will not substantiate on this podcast that we named him Hank because of Hank Blaylock. Mm-hmm. That is a vicious rumor.
Sounds very far-fetched.
I just don't get it. But he's probably my guy. And what's weird is I think when people think, who's your favorite athlete? They're thinking like Michael Jordan or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Like one of the all-time greats. Hank Blaylock's never going to be mistaken for one of the all-time greats, but I hold a candle for him.
I love getting the obscure.
Well,
rather than the what everybody's thinking already. So that's great. That's a great answer.
Kelly, if you're into the obscure, you have come to the right place.
All right. What about, okay, I'm anxious for this one now. So what about your favorite team of all time?
So I'm a Rangers fan. The 2000 and 2010 Rangers that won the pennant are certainly up there. I would also say I went to the University of Missouri to study journalism, and while I was there, the 2007 team, Mizzou football team, was really, really special. They rose to number 1 at one point. That was a lot of fun to watch. And yeah, those would probably be the ones that would jump out to me. I also root for a very bad English soccer team.
Who?
Queens Park Rangers.
Oh, that is a little random.
QPR. Yeah. They are in London, but they have since been relegated to the championship.
I was going to say, what league are they in?
They're in the championship, so they just make me sad all the time, which is
hang in there.
Kind of a common theme with my sports fandom is everyone just makes me sad eventually.
That's one of those fun ones to root for, though, because if you hang in there long enough, you just never know. And when they do bump up or do something big, it's going to be really big for you.
Well, and that was the thing is that they actually, during my fandom, I started rooting for them in 2010, and they quickly got relegated from the Premier League, and then they came back up like the next year, and that was a super fun year to root for them. It's all been nothing but sadness since then. Just a lot of pain and suffering and sadness, and 9 a.m. wake up calls to watch them lose 3-1 on a bad internet stream.
That's sports for you.
This is the life I've chosen.
So, where were you? I'm thinking you can answer. Mm-hmm. Where were you when the Rangers almost won the World Series?
I was at a friend's house. We had gone over there. My wife, then fiance, who is from St. Louis, I should say, and we talked about how we've now been married for 7 years, and if we can make it through that moment, 'cause she's a big Cardinals fan, as you can imagine, then we can make it through anything. And so I was over at a friend's house. We had ordered Napoli's pizza because of Mike Napoli, and I was entirely certain that this was going to be the best moment of my life. And then
it was close.
And then it wasn't.
Man, you went to someone's house. We can't do that for that big of a game. We have to be zoned in our own TV where we're in control of all the elements.
The only thing I need when I'm watching a sporting event that I'm engaged in is I need about 7 feet to pace.
Move.
I'm a pacer. I will go back and forth. My wife is probably listening to this and laughing at that because she's seen me walk behind our couch 100,000 times during sporting events. But that's what I need. I need a space to pace.
Okay, I have a question about your Twitter bio. Tell me why you say to people, you'll think I hate your favorite team.
Because they will. And it just saves me a lot of time. You can follow me on Twitter at Tepper. And Tepper, it's like pepper with a T. And when you cover everything that I cover in the state of Texas, so at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, we cover every high school football team in the state. There's 1,400 of them. There are 40, we cover every college team in the state. There are 47 of them, not just the 12 FBS teams, and certainly not just the Aggies and the Longhorns, but you're talking about Texas State, UTEP, down to Southwestern Assemblies of God, down to all of these schools that I guarantee you, if I were to tell your listeners, it would be the first time they were ever hearing their name.
Yeah, you're going to leave people out.
Right, you're going to leave people out, and inevitably, in my job, predictions are part of what you do, and I just got tired of hearing, oh, well, Tepper picked against Mejia because he hates the Black Cats, which is just not true. And so it's just a lot easier to get out in front of it. I don't actually, the funny thing is I don't actually care who wins and loses. I don't. The only thing I'm interested in is compelling storylines. And the great thing about covering high school football especially is that there's never a shortage of compelling storylines. There's always teams to talk about. There's always great stories out there. And we, being at Dave Campbell's Texas Football and at Fox, we have the ability to tell all of them. And everything in the state of Texas is within our jurisdiction. So whether you're talking about the largest school in the state, which is Allen, which has an enrollment of 6,664, or the smallest school in the state that plays football, which is Welch Dawson, they have an enrollment of 13.
Where's that?
West, think Southern Panhandle.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, right, because they have an enrollment of 13.
And they have a football team?
They play 6-man football. Yeah. Well, they don't now. I don't think they have enough boys in the school. But my point is that when you cover all of them, you get to tell all of their stories, which is great. But inevitably, you're going to leave somebody out. And so it's just a lot easier if I just tell them, you're probably going to think I hate your favorite team. I promise you, I don't.
All right. Okay, let's get into some of those stories then, and some local high school football specifically. Set the scene for us on what's going on right now in and around Frisco. I know you cover the whole state, but Frisco, Dallas area in the high school football ranks.
Yeah, certainly. In the Frisco area, I think the conversation is going to start with Lone Star. Lone Star is a program that we've had our eye on for a long time, ever since, of course, they went to that state championship game 2015, came up short to Cedar Park. That was a great team with Jason Shelley and company leading the way. That is, I would say, the toast of Frisco right now, and it's easy to see why. They have an outstanding wide receiver by the name of Marvin Mims. He's committed to Stanford. A quarterback in Garrett Rangel, who is really stepping up in a big role. Going into the season, they actually had two quarterbacks, and when we watched them in 7-on-7 play, which is just kind of summer league, they had both quarterbacks out there. They both looked really good. We thought, quarterback controversy. Mm-hmm. The good thing is Garrett Rangel's really the other one, well, not the good thing. The other quarterbacks got injured, so it kind of forced the hand of Garrett Rangel, but he's really stepped up.
Decision was made for them.
Exactly. They have one of the best coaching staffs in the state, led by Jeff Rayburn, and they are, they're the toast of Frisco. But I'd also lump in a team like Reedy. Reedy what is it with Frisco opening new schools and suddenly being taking over?
Right, because that's not supposed to happen.
No,
you're supposed to be bad for a while when you're new.
That's exactly right, and especially in Texas high school football, that tends to be the case. But what they've been able to build really quickly under Chad Cole has been an identity. This is a team that plays really physical. They've got one of the most exciting and I think old school football players in the state by the name of Will Harbour. Will Harbour is an all-state linebacker, running back, kicker, punter, does everything. Might as well stir the Gatorade at this point. He is a lot of fun to watch. And then the other one that I would kind of point out in Frisco is I guess in Wichita Falls they call it Old High, but Frisco High. They have a new coach in Jeff Harbert who got the promotion in the offseason when Vance Gibson left after a long tenure there at Frisco. He goes and takes a job on the staff of East Texas Baptist University. And they are reinventing themselves. This is an offense that has always been based on the wing T, which is a very old school, grinded out running game type of offense. Jeff Harbert wants to open things up. He wants to do some fun things. They've got some playmakers out there like Blake May, their running back. They're a team to keep an eye on. The Raccoons are. It's been a minute since we've been talking about them in any sort of meaningful way, but I would certainly keep an eye on them as far as a team in the Frisco area.
Is this the first season that we're in now with the new coach?
Yes,
say?
yes. Okay. Jeff Harbert's in his first year.
So it's early to tell, but you expect.
Yeah, this is the team that I think we at the Dave Campbell's offices kind of looked at them and said, okay, just keep an eye on them. They were pretty good last year, 7-5 last year. They've got a lot coming back from last year's team, I believe, including 9 starters on what was a really good defense back from last year. This is a Frisco team that I think has a lot of high upside, a team that you can dream on. Probably not a team that's going to go win a state championship, but I think could give everyone they play a lot of trouble.
I hear our neighbors in the colony have a team.
Well,
good team.
Reedy can tell you all about that. Mm-hmm. That was a game that really opened our eyes. We were we had actually at Dave Campbell's Texas Football with Fox, we sent a reporter out to that game. And kind of we were thinking, okay, this is, a good test for Reedy, but this is a state-ranked Reedy team. We think they're going to take care of business. Well, the Colony had other ideas. The Colony really put it on Reedy, and what Rudy Rangel has done, speaking of kind of offensive transitions, is really impressive. This is a guy who has been, I used to work for the Dallas Morning News, mm-hmm. And when you work for a newspaper, and for our younger readers, a newspaper is when you take a tree and you cut it down and you turn it into paper and then you write yesterday's news on it and then they bring it to your house.
I worked for a newspaper for 10 years.
Oh, and you survived.
So I feel you, yep.
You survived. Good for you. Do you have scars too?
I loved every minute of it, but I'm glad I'm not still in the newspaper world.
I did too. And as somebody who works for a magazine, which is the same idea except it's bound like a book. In any case, whenever I would cover the Colony for the Dallas Morning News, I always loved it because the Colony ran the kind of offense where they ran the ball and the games were really short. So I could get my story in on a deadline, be fine. Now they have gone a little bit more wide open. Their quarterback, Mikey Harrington, had a terrific game, and they have a receiver by the name of Miles Price, who just today, although I don't want to timestamp it because then people will know when we're recording it,
that's all right.
But just today committed to Texas Tech. And he is a guy
My Red Raiders.
Your Red Raiders, mm-hmm. Yes. Wreck-em. And they have changed their offense to be a lot more wide open, a lot more explosive, and it's paying dividends. They are a team that is very quickly rising, and suddenly we're paying a lot more attention to it. Coach Rudy Rangel's done an excellent job with the Cougars. They're a team that's certainly on our radar.
Any surprises so far?
Yeah, especially in the DFW Metroplex, the teams that surprised me the most would be a little bit more in the small school ranks. But there are a number of teams that are off to fast starts in the greater DFW area. One of them I would say is Arlington Martin. Arlington Martin is a program that in week 1 went down to Lake Travis. Lake Travis is where Baker Mayfield went. Lake Travis is where, if you want to date yourself, Garrett Gilbert went. They are a preeminent. They're a team you always see playing in the semifinals in the state championship game. They went to Lake Travis and put it on them in week 1, 35-14, and then they followed that up with a really big win in week 2 over Hebron. They're a team that certainly is keeping my eye. Keeping an eye. The Colony certainly qualifies as well. But overall, when you take a look at DFW, the great thing is you have this wide swath to draw from. There's every single kind of team out there teams that are defensive-oriented, teams that score 70 points a game, teams that like to slow it down, teams that like to go fast, teams with first-year coaches, teams with coaches that are literally the third leading coach, third winningest coach in state history, like Randy Allen at Highland Park. You've got everything you want. The other team that I would keep an eye on is Prosper. Prosper is another program that I think a lot of the attention on them has been drawn towards the stadium. They have a new stadium.
Right.
That Children's Health Stadium, I believe is the name of it. A lot of the oxygen in the room has been sucked up by that. But they've actually got a really good team, too. And I think people are going to start to pay attention. Those would be the teams that would classify in the DFW area as surprises.
Now, I know around here I'm hearing Lone Star Highland Park is a big rivalry or a big game everybody's looking forward to. What big games or small games are you looking forward to?
Yeah, for me, what stands out whenever you take a look at games, and the Highland Park Lone Star game, by the time people listen to this, may have already gone off, but Lone Star is looking to go to Highland Park and be the first Texas team to beat the Scots at home since 1998. Think about that. It's 1998. I was 104 years old in 1998. This is, but overall, in DFW, you always have a handful of games that are going to catch your eye every single week. What I'm looking forward to, especially down the line, is when we get into district play, because district play is that's what gets you into the playoffs. Those are the games that matter. All these non-district games are fun, but they don't. I hate to say they don't matter, but they don't get you into the playoffs. They don't get you closer to a state championship game. For me, they're good data points, but I would look at a game like Allen and Prosper coming down the line. That's a game that certainly catches my eye. Closer to the Frisco area, when Lone Star and the Colony play, it's going to be interesting because one of the things is that we are we're in year 2 of what we call a realignment cycle. The UIL changes their districts every 2 years. We are in year 2, so these teams have already played last year. They're used to playing each other in the district, and especially when you have programs like that are geographically very close to one another, they tend to be in the same district. They get to know each other a lot. People know what they're getting when they're playing Frisco Lone Star. You're going to get explosive weapons on the outside. You're going to get really strong play in the front seven, the defensive line and linebackers, and you're going to get great coaching. With the Colony changing their offense, that makes it a different wrinkle. And to me, when you take a look at District 5A Division 1, that's a game coming down the pike that I am very, very interested in. Everything in District 7 5A Division 1 is interesting because that is the district that spans literally from Sherman all the way to Texarkana. It is a huge district that was drawn up by the UIL in their infinite wisdom, and I hope my friends at the UIL are not listening to this. But it was, they kind of had to do it. And elsewhere, look, one of the surprises in the DFW Metroplex, I would say, has been, and especially here in this area, has been Lebanon Trail. Another new program,
another new one
in the DFW Metroplex that's off to, at this moment, an undefeated start. And has a chance, I think, to really make some noise. And they are now entering district play. They're in a 9-team district, so they have to play 8 district games. So they're already into district play. Is it fool's gold? When they play a team like Frisco, when they play a team like Denison, when they play a team like Reedy, like Lovejoy, there are some heavy hitters in their district. Can they hold up to it? But what they have done so far, I think, has really impressed a lot of people. I believe the coach there is Sad Jackson, who moved in from Reedy.
I want to get him in here.
From Manor, yeah.
Talk about these new schools, how they're building so fast, these teams.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. And I know that from the statewide perspective, I think people think of Frisco and all the schools run together. I think you hear Frisco, and then everybody kind of glazes over before you get to the second part of it. But they are all so diverse and so different and growing in different ways. And what I love about covering teams in Frisco is I think the depth of coaching here is really impressive. You go a guy like Sad Jackson, who had great success at Manor before moving to Lebanon to help open Lebanon Trail. A guy like Derek Roberson, who is the coach, I believe, at Dallas Skyline, perennial power in the DFW Metroplex, moving over to take over a new Frisco Memorial team. Rayburn, Cole, the coaches are really solid in Frisco, and what I think is interesting is that Frisco ISD has made that investment into quality coaches.
And it's paying off.
It is, yeah, it's paying off, and I think that the depth in Frisco ISD. Look, you're always going to have programs that are struggling, especially not every program that's in its infancy and its nascency is success. Memorial's struggling right now, but at the same time, you can count on there being the resources there for them to compete going forward.
Do you care to make a prediction, since by the time this airs, it might have already played Lone Star Highland Park?
Oh my gosh. You're going to make me do it?
Well, you don't have to.
Well, here's the problem, is that if I make this prediction, then immediately I'm either going to be genius or an idiot.
Or wrong.
Or an idiot, which,
That's why I'm giving you the out. If you don't want to make it, you can pass.
Man, I'll tell you, it's like being married.
You say they haven't lost at home since 98.
They have not lost a home game to a Texas team since 1998.
In 1998, I was sitting in class with one Cliff Kingsbury.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, old Cliffy.
Old Cliffy.
He was a former he's, in fact, a small note, we'll get to I'm not just stalling for my prediction. Cliff Kingsbury's been on our cover of Dave Campbell's Texas Football more than any other person.
I wonder why.
He was in the cover in 2016 with Pat Mahomes, both of whom turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
And then he was on the cover a couple of times when he was a player. He is a guy we're infinitely familiar with. And, okay, I'll tell you a very quick story about Cliff Kingsbury. We did the cover shoot with Cliff Kingsbury in Lubbock in 2016 with Pat Mahomes. They were extremely gracious with their time, and we go out there, we fly out there to Lubbock, we set everything up, and Coach Kingsbury comes in, and so does Mahomes, and Mahomes like, okay, well, I got to go put on my pads. Great. Okay, well, hey, Coach, while you're here, you're ready, could we just take some photos just of you? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem, stuff like that. And he kind of walks over to the backdrop we have set up, and he goes, do you want the sunglasses on or off? And I go,
I was going to ask, did he have his sunglasses
of course we want them on, Coach. It's this is Coach Cool, stuff like that. So
Coach Bro.
He literally puts on the sunglasses. We toss him a football. He holds it, and if you're familiar with the documentary film Zoolander, he strikes blue steel and just goes, whoom. And I swear to you, we used that first photo we took of him. Like, you want to talk about a guy who knew what he was doing.
He was ready.
In photo shoots. As for Lone Star Highland Park, I'm going with Highland Park. You don't pick against the streak.
Okay.
And although I will say this is maybe one of their biggest tests they've had at home in that 20 and a half year streak. So, wouldn't surprise me.
When you get that right,
yes.
I'll give you credit for it on Twitter. If you get it wrong, I'll ignore it.
Wow, it's usually the exact opposite.
I know,
in my
I'm nice, though.
That's very nice of you, Kelly. Thank you.
So tell me, I want to switch gears here. I want to know more on the personal side of, you've worked in sports a long time, I get that, and you told us about your football and baseball and soccer interests, but what's your sports background, like growing up? What were you doing and where?
I was an exceptionally bad athlete. That's not true. I was a very mediocre athlete. And I grew up I kind of bounced around, but I did the majority of my growing up in Coppell. I'm a local yokel, and decided to when I was in sports, I was always interested in sports. ESPN was always on in my house, and I was always paying attention to the Ranger game or paying attention to football, whatever was on TV. I was a sports nut. My dad is a sports nut as well. My mom too, and so. I played sports, was not very good at it. I tell people that I played high school football, but played is a generous term. They gave me a jersey.
You were out there.
I was out there. I had a jersey. And so I kind of figured out that I was not going to be good enough to play, but I wanted to work in sports. And I ended up finding my way to journalism through a really inspiring teacher that I had at Coppell. I started looking around at journalism schools, ended up at Missouri, which has a journalism school. And so I went there to Missouri and came back with a degree, and at that point a girlfriend that turned into a fiance, that turned into a wife, that turned into the mother of my son. And yeah, I've been blessed. There's a lot of people who want to work in sports because sports is fun. And I agree. It is fun. And even my really stressful days, I have to think, hey, listen, you're living the dream. You're doing something that a lot of people wish they could.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people who just sit at a desk and push paper, 40 hours a week and then go home and clock out. I don't
want to go watch football.
Right, and want to go watch football. I have weird hours. Friday nights, I will wake up. Friday nights, my nights end at about 1 when High School Scoreboard Live comes off the air. But it's worth it, and I have a wonderful family who puts up with it, and who I tell them I have widow my wife basically on Friday nights because I just run away and play with my football friends. But it's a joy. It really is.
You probably have other flexible, you're not 9 to 5 like everyone else all the time, right? So it probably balances out a little.
No, certainly. And I don't have to wear a suit to work.
Right.
Although most people, when they see me on Fox, I'm wearing a suit. I don't have to do that. I have a lot of flexibility there. There are busy times, like when we're putting together the magazine and during football season, and then there's kind of more off seasons. But it's a true joy, and it's something that I think a lot of people dream of, and I'm happy to live that dream.
I don't think people realize when they dream of it, they don't realize how you have to take in the game when you're covering it and working it versus if you're not. From the little things, from how people as a fan pregame and drink and eat and all of these things, what you can wear, how you can share, the whole experience is completely flipped when you're covering it.
Yeah, I haven't had a beer at a college football game in years, and it's that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make because I get into the games for free. Mm-hmm. But you're right, is that the difference of covering a game versus attending a game is in two different planets, and I don't have time to cheer. I don't have time to find a rooting interest. I'm working. I'm trying to figure out what I'm seeing and thinking about what the story I'm going to write is about or what my thoughts about the game are going to be. And you have to view it through a more analytical eye than a more emotional eye. But I also recognize that my work allows other people it brings them joy and it brings them something that they can enjoy it in a more emotional level while still maybe having some of the information that I can bring them. So it is an odd kind of thing that in a lot of ways you do have to turn in your fan card whenever you become a capital J journalist, as they say. But it's in the end it's worth it because I know that what I'm doing matters to people and what I'm doing people care about. And I literally would not do my job if people didn't care. Like I would stop doing it. It's not worth it to me. The paycheck is nice, but that's not what I'm in it for. I'm in it because people like it and people are passionate about it. And that's especially on the high school side. That's what's so fun is people are passionate about it. And my job could not exist in Maryland. My job could not exist in North Dakota.
You're saying it's a Texas thing.
It's a Texas thing.
Yeah.
It's decidedly Texas. It's uniquely Texan. It is a Texan touchstone.
We do it different here, right?
We do it different, bigger, I would say better, in my opinion, but that's editorializing.
I saw you recently on Free For All with Ducey and Sam.
With Ducey.
Is that as much fun as it looks?
Yes. Ducey's a great guy. Mike Ducey is a great guy, and we don't hold the fact that he's an Iowa grad against him. But no, he's a really good guy, and Sam is wonderful in her new time there at Fox 4. It is. I did not... My degree is in newspaper journalism. I have a newspaper journalism degree from 2008. What an idiot I am. But I did not get into it to be in television and be on broadcast and be the quote unquote face of a franchise. I was kind of thrust into it, but I'm glad I was. And so now, it's fun that people want my opinion on sports. That's fun to me, and it's I try to be thoughtful about it. And so it's fun, and especially when you get people like that, like Deuce and
they
Sam.
Look like they have a lot of fun.
Right, they are a lot more low key, a lot more relaxed. There are some times where you go on a radio interview or a TV interview, and it is very straight laced. Tell me about Oklahoma. Do you think they can win the Big 12? In which case, I'm happy to answer those questions. But at the same time, I made a pledge to myself when I started doing the TV thing and I started doing the more broadcast thing. That I would always do it for an audience of one, and that is me. And I try to make myself laugh and have fun myself. And so the moment I stop doing that is the moment I'll probably just quit. I'm not going to quit, though.
Good. I was going to say, keep it up. It's fun. I know you're not, are you a regular on there, or were you just a guest?
I've been on there a couple times. Okay. Ducey's got my number.
They like to have guests come back. And I go to bed watching them most nights, or at least, close to it. So, they entertain me. So keep doing what you're doing. It's really fun. Do you want to give a quick plug on where people can find you?
Yeah. You can of course see my work at texasfootball.com. And then you can watch Fox Sports Southwest. At this point, if you turn on Fox Sports Southwest, I'm probably just going to show up on your screen at some point. The worst is during Ranger games, because I'm on one of their commercials, and I will get tweets and text messages from my friends who are like, "God, get off my screen, Tepper." But then the other part is on Friday nights. Because Friday night is, of course, when everybody stays at home and watches television, right? Entirely sober. And so, especially during the late show, High School Scoreboard Live, which is 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., that is when my phone blows up with photos of televisions at various adult beverage depots across this lovely state saying, "Look at you, idiot, nice tie."
I'm here doing this, and you're there doing that.
Right. And at that point, those are hours 4 and 5 of my Friday nights, and so one of those beverages would be really nice.
Yeah.
But then TexasFootball.com, and then if you want to follow me on Twitter at Tepper, I'm supposed to tell you that because that's supposed to be good for the brand.
Good. Got it all in there. Thanks. I know you're busy. This is your busy season, right? A few weeks into high school football. So I appreciate you driving over here and sitting down, giving us a few minutes.
Kelly, it was wonderful. This was not nearly as painful as you told me it was going to be. And I also appreciate you not talking about that thing that we agreed that we wouldn't talk about on the air. Thank you very much.
No
It's
problem.
An extremely personal thing.